online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Ooh, that's big.
I like that.
My mic sounds nice. Check one. My mic sounds nice.
And welcome to an all-new UFC on AfterBuzz TV. My name is... Read the shirt. Daria Berenato.
We're also on iTunes. Keep that in mind.
Oh, you can't read my shirt? It says Daria Berenato on it. I'm here with my lovely co-host. I haven't seen both of you in the same room in such a long time. Please welcome George Hermoza and Mr. Jay Tan.
Hi, Jay.
Hi, George.
There you go. All right.
Oh.
Picking up.
Hey, I like your
Picking
shirt.
up what I'm putting down.
I like your shirt.
I like your shirt.
Your shirt's all right.
I like your shirt.
It's not bad.
For those
This
of you-
whole thing I had laying
I like
around.
my
yeah,
shirt.
it was just laying around. For those of you listening on iTunes, they are wearing Jersey Devil inspired t-shirts made by moi. You guys can purchase them by emailing me at toughdaria@gmail.com and letting me know your size, email address, and mailing address. Guys, welcome back. Jay, we've missed you.
I know it's it's really high. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
I knew it when I knew the schedule was coming, and it's actually just kind of hitting me now. There's a whole lot of change going on. New studios.
Yeah.
Back after a long hiatus, not necessarily intended. You know, one part. One part the UFC schedule lightening up a little bit, and whole lot of other stuff going on.
It's been a long time since we had those, 8-9 weeks in a row every single Sunday?
Yeah, it was crazy for a while. UFC has lightened up a bit, but now we're in our new studio. Can you guys tell we're in our new studio? I think you can by the brick walls in the background. I don't think we had that before. Where can we find you guys on social media?
You can find me at G Hermoza, GHERMOZA.
Jay.
Of course, as always, JTan716. That probably will never change. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I don't think anywhere else.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very good to know. Guys, if you want to join our conversation, hashtag ABTVUFC, and we will talk along with you. Or you can talk on our chat roll on YouTube or watch us live on AfterBuzzTV.com.
I'm trying to get it up here. I guess I'm going to have to go straight to the app. I was hoping to multitask and, do it all in the... Safari, but
Jay's
I guess
working on
not.
it for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna
hopefully
pull it
we'll
up
be
here
chatting
real
with you
quick.
guys soon. So this fight card was a cool one because it was in Japan. I love Japan. Jay loves Japan.
I really
Haven't you
love
been there
Japan.
several times, Jay?
Yeah, I lived there for a little bit. Worked one of the Pride shows, Dream, actually the very last Pride show. Dream was there for the show after that, and I guess that was it in terms... Osaka Pro Wrestling.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So something to notice about the Japanese crowd tonight is that they are much different than our other territories. They're very respectful. They mostly stay silent unless something
react to the big
crazy
moves,
happens. Yeah.
It's like that with pro wrestling as well.
Is it?
No.
Yeah. Pretty respectable
So I was
crowd.
let's see, 6 minutes, 30 seconds it took to come up with a non-Daria pro wrestling reference. I'm not pulling up this.
There'll be more.
There will be
Oh,
more.
I know, yeah. Well,
Probably out of my mouth.
Let's break it down here. It was a fight night, I believe, number 74. Josh Barnett, who is really Japan's adopted son.
Yes.
Versus Big Country Roy Nelson, who's also made a splash for himself in Japan and has his, pardon the pun, splash.
Splash.
But has a lot of fans there. Dag nabbit, please,
so it was-
iPad work.
Hey
Oh,
guys,
well.
if you need help with the chat, Alexis is here to help out with that.
Oh, awesome.
Alexis-
I didn't mean to rhyme, but I have it up.
Alexis will let us know when you guys are talking to us. Thank you, Alexis.
You're very welcome.
All right, guys. So UFC Fight Night 74, as Jay said, Barnett versus Nelson. Barnett is actually a former AfterBuzz TV guest. We had him on with his girlfriend, Colleen Schneider, not too long ago. And we'd love to have you back, Josh, after this awesome victory. But let's start at the bottom of the main card and talk about these awesome fights. So first we had don't mind my pronunciations. They're going to be horrible. Mizuto Hirota versus Teruto Ishihara. It was a draw. I repeat, guys, a draw.
Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later, but we finish those up.
It's very rare to see a draw in MMA, but we saw one in this scenario, and we'll talk about why a little bit later. Do you want to add something, Jay?
Well,
I'll wait.
I was going to say too that what we're missing is that this fight night was the build up. A lot of people don't realize it was the build up, or I'm sorry, what they call the blow off to a build up that was on UFC Fight Pass and aired in Japan. Barnett and Nelson were opposite coaches for a very kind of an abbreviated version of Ultimate Fighter that was called Road to UFC Japan, and there were 8 fighters. It was all at featherweight, and they were brought into the Tough House. Well, one of the Tough Houses, I believe, or at least the gym there in Vegas, and trained and competed against each other. Very similar to the Ultimate Fighter format. I had actually kind of forgotten about it. A lot of people in North America, they didn't promote this thing much to anybody in North America because it was done for a Japanese market. A Japanese production company recorded it. It is, however, on Fight Pass, all 10 episodes and a little bit of extra stuff. And I caught 2 episodes last night. It is, in that it is shot and produced by a Japanese company. It's a lot more fun. It's a nice, different take on Ultimate Fighter, abbreviated as it is. It was kind of a fresh approach to the whole thing.
I definitely want to take a look at it. You were telling me a little bit about it. You said that it mixed in a live show with the recorded segments, which is pretty cool. It's funny because it was, I guess you could say, a more successful version, maybe just my opinion, of the current season or the most recent season of Tough Enough.
I was going to say, Tough Enough.
Yeah.
Where, the open was, it opens and closes with 2 hosts that I don't know, but one was a comedian, a Japanese comedian, 2 Japanese guys at Crazy Bee Gym in Tokyo. And there was even an audience in, the set was in a cage, but then the audience was behind the cage. Okay. So they're watching these guys tape, but not really, not really involved with the show itself. And the 2 guys would talk a little bit, and then they'd go to the footage of these guys training in Vegas, and culminates in a fight. Interesting. Yeah, and as I think about it too, I remember that it was only like half-hour shows. It's not a full hour. Interesting. So. Yeah, I'm curious to see what the next several episodes, because I didn't get to watch a fight yet. Well, it's definitely something to go watch. You guys can see it for $9.99 a month on Fight Pass. I hear that it has subtitles, but they're not the best English subtitles. But they're fun. They're fun. Yeah. But definitely check it out. But next on the fight card, we have Katsunori Kikuno versus Diego Brandao. Diego Brandao won via TKO in round 1. Leave me alone. Takeya Mizugaki versus George Roop. Mizugaki wins via unanimous decision, 29-28 all around. Next, we have Kyoji Horiguchi versus Chico the King Camus. Horiguchi wins via unanimous decision, 30-27 all around. Gegard Mousasi versus Uriah Hall. We'll talk about this one. Uriah Hall, round 2 TKO. And, of course, the main event of the evening, Josh the War Master Barnett versus Roy Big Country Nelson. Josh Barnett takes it home in a 5-round decision.
5-round slugfest.
48-47 for 2 judges. 50-45, a clear shutout for another judge.
Interesting. We'll talk about how we scored that after. I think we'll have some disagreements among the 3 of us. But let's start with the first fight that we talked about. Mizuto Hirota, we'll go with that. Teruto Ishihara.
Hiroto and Ishihara. So this was the finals.
This is crazy. Of the Ultimate Fighter.
Of that UFC.
Of the Road to Japan.
Yeah.
Japan,
right. Yeah, Ultimate Fighter Japan, if you will.
If you will.
Hirota, very easy to tell these guys apart. Hirota, ironically,
one more red, the other one more blue.
Yeah. Red and blue.
One head, blue hair.
Yes, and Hirota went ahead with a full tuft of blue hair, just the whole dome, looking like a Smurf.
I wonder if he knew he was in the blue corner, or has he had that blue hair for a while?
You know what? I wonder. That's a very good point. Yeah. I would have. I'm really wondering about that because I don't.
That's interesting.
I don't assign guys to their corners until a day,
Last minute.
a couple days before. Yeah.
Right. So maybe he just was going with the blue hair and hoped he was in the blue corner.
They must have known. Oh, maybe, you know what? Let me think for a second. I think Hirota was actually on Roy Nelson's. No, I think it was Barnett's team was red and Roy Nelson's might have actually been black. So maybe they just defaulted to red and blue.
Oh, okay. Maybe he just figured.
Yeah.
But anyway, very cool blue hair. Very easy for us to pick him out. So Hirota was the veteran. He's been around for a long time. He's had 2 fights in the UFC prior. And then Ishihara seemed like the young, hot guy, fresh guy on the market. He had a little attitude in the cage, which was interesting.
His nickname is Yashabo.
Which means?
It's an Okinawan term. It's kind of a local dialect term, which they discussed it on the show in the second episode, but kind of like rascal or mischievous guy,
I could see that.
Takanori Gomi was, is the rascal in Japan. But the way that they portrayed him in his segment, he's very much a ladies' man. He says he got into MMA for the girls.
That is hilarious.
Because there was MMA fighters were getting the girls, and there was footage of him partying and hanging out with just a horde of chicks.
He had a little Nate Diaz attitude in there. Like he was in some holds against the cage, and I saw him like going like this, like just like sitting there, like. And I was like, okay, all right, I like your style. Since we won't see Nick Diaz for 5 years, we might as well have a new Japanese version. No, I'm just kidding. We'll talk about that later, though. But yeah, no, he entertained me. I liked him. He was hot and fiery, constantly throwing, constantly doing something, which was awesome. Hirota started off really slow, and I was really concerned. I was like, okay, they said this guy's older in his career. Maybe it's time for retirement. But then the second and third round came, and I was like, holy crap, this guy's doing amazing. Yeah. He's just a slow starter.
Remember my story about the 2 bulls?
Nope.
A couple of episodes ago?
Nope.
No?
Please
the baby bull and the papa bull and the bluff? Yeah. That's what this match reminded me of. As I'm watching, I'm going, geez, I've seen this before.
Guys, go watch a couple episodes ago if you don't know what we're talking about, because I really don't want Jay to repeat the story.
Or Dennis Hopper's Colors, 1988. Excellent film.
Okay.
Hirota came out. He was a bit slower in the first. This is a split draw. Let's talk about this first. The scores are 29-28, 28-29. So 2 judges scored it for opposing guys. And then a third judge, Christopher Shen, I believe his name was, 29-29.
Oh, Christopher Shen!
I don't understand. I thought that no 2 guys can have a 10 round. Because the judge scored at 10-10.
It is called a 10-point must system, as Jay pointed out.
I thought the whole point of it was, one person gets 10, the other person gets 9 or less.
Right.
I think they state that like in the rules. Don't they?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, that's the idea. Is I'm not sure you can have a 10-9 or you can have a 9-9 or an 8-8. Given
but a 10-10?
foul.
Maybe like a
10-10. Yeah, what does that mean? 9, you both did
9-9
perfect?
makes sense because like obviously there are times where somebody deducts a point.
Right.
I think Rashad Evans went to a draw because Ortiz got deducted a point. From
that makes sense though. But 10-10, what does that mean? Both people did perfect?
Yeah, 10-10 means that the judge couldn't decide which guy. And I don't know.
I mean, this was a mistake, right? Like this isn't going to open up a can of worms where it's like future judges are going to be like, oh, they both did really well. I don't know who to score it. 10-10.
I hope that doesn't happen.
And Dana White did say, I think he tweeted that at least I should have went to the 4th round. I think everybody got caught up.
That's the thing.
I think everybody got caught up in the thing that they forgot that it should go to a 4th round, especially because it was the finals of a tournament.
Do they do that?
I don't understand how you can forget that when we as fans, people sitting at home. I mean, these rules. This is very easy. I can rattle off right away. The last time we had this, the reason that we, the last time we faced this was the finals. It was the finals or the first round. Demetrius Johnson in the flyweight tournament to determine a
but
champion.
That was a mistake.
It was a mistake, but it still
finish your thought. Who is it?
It was Demetrius Johnson and Ian McCall.
Yeah, Uncle Creepy Ian McCall, where the match should have gone. No, it should have gone to a 4th.
No. Yeah. They scored it for Demetrius.
Demetrius won,
but the judges scored it wrong.
Right.
So they ended up doing a draw. But had they would have done it correctly the first time, it would have gone to a 4th round.
One of the judges wrote a 9 that looked like an 8 or vice versa, something like that. And DJ was announced the winner.
Okay, so are we saying this is tournament rules? That in a tournament it goes to the 4th round, or in general?
Definitely in tournament rules. And this
Okay.
was a tournament.
Absolutely. But if this was a general regular
just
UFC fight,
a
would
regular
it go
fight.
into a fourth round? No.
No.
Okay, so tournament rules stating
Well,
that
the
in
judge should have
past
never scored
Ultimate
a 10-10.
Fighters, right?
That's the point.
That's the point.
Yeah.
The judge shouldn't have scored it a 10-10. I agree 100%. But if he did score a 10-10, you're saying it should have gone into a fourth round?
correct.
Should have.
Based on tournament rules.
Yes.
Now, I wonder if it
It's
was
not really official tournament rules, but yeah, I mean that was
was the-
what
how
they
it
said.
went.
Considering the whole atmosphere of it, I mean, thankfully, and I think they did the right thing where Dana White, because obviously the winner would have got a 6-figure contract. He ended up giving both the fighters a 6-figure contract. But dude, when they announced that it was a draw,
Wow.
it was so awkward.
Was it?
Yeah.
And and it's funny because they look back at Bruce Buffer. This is literally Bruce Buffer. I don't know.
That is such a good
go back
impersonation.
to it. Go back to it. He's like literally like, I
The
don't
referee
I'm
didn't
just-
know how
I'm
to
just
do
reading,
it.
I'm just
how
reading
to
the card.
react. I don't think the fighters. I mean, when there's a pause and nobody is getting their hand raised, I think both fighters are kind of going, "The hell's going on here?" And I
Yeah.
think they probably.
I mean, don't
understood
get me wrong.
draw as
Not
well.
every draw ends in like disappointment. Like I think Mark Hunt, Antonio Silva, that was one of the most like. Okay, I see that being a draw because I didn't want any guy to lose because they did so just beat the crap out of each other. Not in this case. It was like what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, all of that being said, who did you guys score the fight for?
Let me take a look here.
I scored it a draw. I scored the last round 10-10.
First round was definitely Ishihara, and this is where we get into the the character and the story of the fight. Ishihara was a lot busier in general. Reminded me a little bit of Dominic Cruz stick and move style. A lot of footwork,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
All over the place. But Hirota did kind of come alive in the second and third. I think he the third I gave him the third strongly. The second was touch and go because Ishihara did knock down Hirota several times.
Yeah.
Didn't really get to capitalize on it. For the most part, it was 15 minutes of stand up and movement all around the cage. I probably would have leaned towards Hirota. I think for the second and third.
Yeah, so, see, I would have given it to Hirota, like you said, for the second and third. Ishihara, although he started out really good and seemed to be controlling the pace of the fight for the first half of the fight, he wasn't putting that much damage on Hirota. He did knock him down a couple times, but then Hirota came and knocked him down a couple times. And I just felt like when Hirota was in control, the pace of the fight was controlled. You know what I mean? He wasn't just miscellaneously swinging and maybe catching him a couple times.
His strikes were landing.
He was landing, he was under control, and he was really controlling the fight.
Right.
And I think that was more definitive than the mayhem that Ishihara was putting on Hirota in the first half of the fight. So I would have given it to Hirota, but I could totally see this being a close fight. Once again, I don't see it being
It still was a
split
great
draw.
fight. I thought it was a really great fight.
It was a
and
great
rightfully
fight.
so. I like that they both ended up getting the 6-figure contract.
Absolutely.
Which was really awesome.
And that happens a lot with the end of the Ultimate Fighter seasons is you like both guys in the finale so much that they end up being successful in the UFC anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, why not give both guys the contract right now? So I'm happy that Dana White did that. It was definitely the conclusion that I think the fans wanted and were happy with.
It's a fair it's a fair decision to give them both. It's a smart one business wise. And I'm actually thinking about the bigger picture that comes to mind here. The UFC is still very very dead set about Japan and Asia making their mark in there. They don't do a whole lot of Japanese shows. I think this was the third one, but especially with I'm going to go off script here a little bit. A week ago at Bellator, you had Mr. Sakakibara coming out and introducing or announcing that he had signed Fedor Emelianenko to his year-end New Year's Eve show. I think a lot of people are still hesitant whether the Japanese can create Japanese MMA the way that it was in the heyday in the early 2000s and so with Pride.
Right.
But so I wouldn't quite say it's a game changer, but it is something to be aware of. And to that end, if you're the UFC, you want to get your hands on as many other Japanese fighters as possible.
I absolutely agree with you. This is how I feel about the Asian market as far as MMA goes. I feel that they're one of the most respected martial arts communities. Not necessarily mixed martial arts, but martial arts in general has been there for centuries.
Sure. Yeah.
And I feel like we've had so much success in the past with pro wrestling, with Pride, and so many other combative sports over there that I feel like there's such a territory and a market to hit But unlike Ireland and Sweden and Scotland, I think it's going to take more than one big card for it to hit home there. I think it's
absolutely.
They're gonna
something.
I think they always need one big name.
Yeah, I think they need a big name, but also I think
At least one.
They need at least one, but I think they need to really plant the seed in that market and let it grow properly, because I think that the fans over there are so respectful of mixed martial arts and accepting of it. I think we just need to grow some homegrown heroes there, and I think that's all that's missing from it.
That's
not even a
big part
homegrown-
of why the market dried up after Pride went under was that there weren't Japanese stars that could be mainstream stars. I was going to say that the Asian market or Asian fans kind of expect a lot from their fighters to make them stars, but I'm not quite sure that that's the best way for me to put it. But I'll say that when you have a star. When you have an Asian fighter, especially in Japan, like you really need them to become to break into the mainstream level. You know, somebody like how do I put this? Ronda Rousey and Conor McGregor. We've not seen popularity like this, or in Conor's case, a rise as fast in the past as we have with him. Ronda is a mainstream star. You know, a pop culture icon practically. That's the case for a lot of when Japanese fighters. When they achieve that level, that's kind of the standard to say, okay, that guy is a star in Japan. That's the bar that they need to hit. And somebody like Shinya Aoki was a bit of a hope for some people after Pride went under, but you know he wasn't the guy. He didn't break through that ceiling there. Yeah,
I don't think in any of our weight classes we have an Asian champion right now.
I will say though, I don't think so either. I will say that I think the Japan fans are so respectful and so like obviously they wouldn't. I don't think they'd be opposed to having a star that's not even Asian. They're so welcoming about international stars. Look at Josh Barnett.
Yeah, but in the sake of Japan, you need a homegrown star to be able to go on TV.
I think it'd be better, but if you have that kind of maybe that American guy that maybe goes to Japan and maybe learns the culture, and we've seen it all the time with pro wrestling as well.
Right. Well, I agree that Josh Barnett is definitely, how do I say this? He's raising awareness of the other territories in MMA, and I think that who knows if Josh Barnett's champ one day, maybe he'll spend more time in Japan and overseas and represent them more.
I think they would need maybe like a younger guy, like maybe like somebody who's 25.
Someone to build.
Like for example, like I know this is an MMA show, but I keep thinking Finn Balor, who was like a huge star in Japan as Prince Devitt, and then but he was like the guy. He was like he's not even American. He's like Irish.
Right.
But he was a huge star in Japan, and now he's coming back to the U.S. But I think I just think that for Japan is like they're so respectful of so many other cultures. That even if it's not a homegrown star, they would still be as long as that person is willing to accept that culture.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. But the grand scheme of things here is the Japanese market and the Asian market for MMA. There's such a large community and such a respectable community, and I would be excited in the coming years to see a star come out of there.
No, I agree.
Kyoji Horiguchi was one of my favorites for a while. He was a guy that I was like, go, beat Demetrius Johnson. Of course, that didn't happen, but you never know. Maybe someone like Kyoji Horiguchi in the future. Actually, he's on this card. We'll talk about him in a minute. But first, let's talk about Katsunori Kikuno versus Diego Brandao. Diego Brandao won via TKO in round 1.
You keep saying it as different every single time.
Is it Diego? I figured if I do one of each, like I'll just get it right. Diego.
And you'll get it wrong.
Diego. Okay, Diego. All right.
Daria.
Well, there we go. Everyone calls me Daria anyway, so I just mispronounce everyone else's name.
This show had a lot of decisions. You got a lot of bang for your buck on it. Matches going all the way. But there were two in particular that are worth going out of your way to watch, and Diego Brandao is certainly one of them. The Uriah Hall match was another one. It was a right fest. I call it a right fest for Diego. He came out and dropped Kikuno with a right and jumped on him, ground and pound, from behind with more rights. Kikuno got up. Diego landed a right that threw Kikuno's face into the cage.
Wait.
Yeah, like a Tom and Jerry cartoon, smacking it against the window there.
That Windex is too clear.
Right, and more rights, and it was over in 28 seconds.
Yeah, that was an amazing amazing fight. That's what I like to see. Go in there, you finish it. You go in there with that killer instinct, and you kill or be killed.
Yeah.
And that's what he did, and it was done. And I really liked the face plant into the cage. That was awesome. But I have to say that's not my favorite knockout of the night, but we'll get to that when we talk about Mr. Uriah Hall. Next, we have Takeya Mizugaki versus George Roop.
What? Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about me.
Oh,
You're
no.
like, George
Hermoza.
Roop.
Well, I wanted to make an enunciation for Roop. 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 All these hard names to pronounce, and then there's Roop.
Like Roop?
No!
Or like Diago, apparently.
You just said it wrong.
Yeah.
On purpose.
I was
No, you
see
didn't
what
do
I
that
did
on
there?
purpose. You just, no. Anyway, so Mizugaki wins via unanimous decision, 29-28 all around. Tons of clinch work, Roop controlling the clinch. He's very tall, but I thought that it was a very weird strategy for him to choose. Being the taller and lankier guy, you think you want to use your reach advantage and play the outside game and not get hit that much, because Mizugaki would have had a really hard time getting in on him. But he chose to play the clinch, and I think Mizugaki did a good job of controlling it there. He landed some nice dirty boxing on the inside, and even when they were toe-to-toe at a distance, Mizugaki did a great job of getting in and landing those shots.
Yeah. Mizugaki was fast with his hands, as usual with him, but just, Roop could not. He was walking into a barrage every time that was happening, which again lends to the idea of staying on the outside and using reach. And he's got knockout power. He has finished guys in the past, but for whatever reason, this one was not the most exciting one. Likewise, Horiguchi versus Camus, I think a little bit more action and excitement, but that one was 30-27 across the board. Strictly Horiguchi getting back on track after his loss to DJ. So,
but yeah, so George Roop, I have a hard time with this guy. I think he has obviously the reach. I think he has the length. He throws some really good kicks. He was landing a lot of kicks, but he's so all over the place, and his speed's not there. Now, if he was all over the place but he had the speed, I'd say okay, he can get away with it. But he was very slow and predictable, and I feel like if he would have gone against anybody even faster than Mizugaki, he would have been in real trouble, because his punches to me just looked so sloppy and predictable. So I thought Takeya Mizugaki did a good job of controlling the pace and really getting in on that long reach and using his speed to his advantage, which clearly is what I would do. He did a great job. It was a good fight. It was not my favorite one on the card, but it was good.
yeah.
Like you said, Kyoji Horiguchi versus Chico the King Camus was a little bit better. Horiguchi wins via unanimous decision, 30-27 all around. What do you think of this one, George?
Same. I mean, I thought it was a little one-sided, but it just shows how good Horiguchi is. Definitely coming off his loss. I mean, he was going to lose anyway, but losing with 1 second left in the fight. Somebody's coming in.
We have a guest.
Oh, we have a guest. Okay.
We don't have a guest.
We don't have a guest. It's
Hey,
just
Dad.
hearing voices in my head. They be calling me. But yeah, I thought it was a good fight. I think, like I said, Horiguchi is just good. I mean, obviously he's gonna have a long way to show that he can beat somebody like Demetrius Johnson.
Let me ask you this: Is this weight class one of those weight classes that you're gonna have these great number one contenders, but the champ is never gonna lose?
I will say
Yes.
that if he beats Henry Cejudo.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Agreed.
I see Horiguchi as like a Uriah Faber right now. He's gonna beat anybody you put in his sight, but then you give him the title shot, and that title holder is just too good.
Yeah.
And it's something that I want to see Henry Cejudo jump in there, and I want to see him mix it up and really put a shake in this weight class, because I think it would add.
I agree. I was thinking
more
the same
spice
thing
than
yesterday.
we've seen in a while.
Thinking
he's-
the same thing yesterday.
He's going up the ranks, very reasonably. He's number 5 right now. Horiguchi had dropped to number 7 after the DJ fight.
Wow.
Or he came into this one with the DJ fight. Just looking quickly at the top 5, Joe B. DJ has beaten Jussier Formiga. He's beaten them, right? I believe.
So. Yeah, I think he's like
Have
the
they not
one
fought?
guy. I think he's the one guy who they haven't
Okay.
fought.
Uncle Creepy's at number 4, and you got Henry Cejudo. So John Moraga is number 6. Horiguchi, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him, go up the ranks again. There could be a couple of rematches here for DJ, and Horiguchi could be in the mix with them.
Yeah.
But between Demetrius Johnson and Matt Hume, with his long history and experience in Japan, Demetrius Johnson versus a Japanese fighter. It's Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah.
Don't even tell me who it is right now, who's the Japanese fighter right now. Demetrius Johnson.
Yeah, Demetrius Johnson is one of the most inevitable champions we've ever had. I mean, he's been a champ for how long now?
2 years?
2,
I'm
3
guessing.
years, yeah.
A little over 2 years, I was going to say. And he wins every fight defiantly. Like, you know he's going to win. He goes in there. His cardio's impeccable. And I think that, you know, the cardio has everything to do with his mindset. He goes in there like, I'm not going to get tired. You know what I mean? He can do as many cardio drills as he wants, but I really think it's this guy's mindset that makes him win these fights. And I don't see him getting beat for a long, long time. So I'd like to see Kyoji Horiguchi versus Henry Cejudo when the time comes. And I think that's where we go from there.
Cejudo fights very soon in Mexico. Does. And I think that if he clears that, then he's going to be the next in line.
Didn't Henry Cejudo, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't he speak out against the Diaz thing and say that he was...
Yeah, he won't be fighting in Nevada. Except if he gets that title shot and Nevada and the UFC says, hey, we're doing it in Nevada.
Then I think he'll cave. But
yeah,
it's good to see him sticking up for his buddies. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Gegard Mousasi versus Uriah Primetime Hall. This has to be one of my favorite knockouts so far this year. Absolutely. Uriah Hall gives us great knockouts for little promo clips, and this is one of them.
Technically, it was TKO.
Yeah,
but that back kick. I mean, it's such a fascinating story. The finish, absolutely, all credit due to Uriah Hall, and I have many different opinions on him. My opinion of Uriah is constantly evolving. I think he's a fascinating guy to study insofar as studying, understanding the mind of a fighter. I think there's a lot there. He's chunky. He's a chunky guy for that. But what was fascinating was how much Mousasi, he was going in here as very much an underdog against Mousasi.
Yeah, very much so. I don't even think he was ranked. Was he ranked?
Mousasi or
no? Uriah Hall.
I don't believe so. Let me take a quick look here. But you know, it was expected. It kind of started out. No, he's not in the top 15. When, as a lot of people expected, where Gegard took him to a place that he's seemingly least comfortable, or that we've seen least of him on the ground, got a takedown off of a Uriah Hall kick, and continued to stay on top. I mean, Mousasi had better wrestling.
I mean, there was a part in the first round, though, where Uriah Hall looked like he got him with an armbar. And I was like, oh my God, is he really going to get him? Obviously, you know, but you can tell that's even that alone, getting Mousasi in that position, you can tell that just how much Uriah Hall has improved. Yeah,
Uriah Hall's one of those guys that I would gamble my money on, because I just feel like he's one of those guys that just always pulls it out in the end.
Would you have gambled the money going into this match?
Maybe not against Gegard Mousasi, but most other scenarios. But no, Uriah Hall's one of those guys that he always pulls it out in the end. He's got really, really large amounts of power in his punches and his kicks, as we've seen in the past. He was a guy that came off the Ultimate Fighter, and we all thought he was going to soar, and then there was kind of like a layover. We didn't,
and a lot of that, in my opinion, was mental, not physical, not the training.
I could see that,
and that's where I think is the fascinating part of him. He didn't display the outward aggression that I think Dana, you know, was down on him for a couple of matches, thinking this guy doesn't have the animalistic hunger in him.
Right.
And Uriah has always been a guy that doesn't like to talk shit. He's very calm and soft-spoken. Kind of takes the traditional martial arts approach to speaking outward, you know, not wanting to talk shit and stuff. We had that argument with him.
We did. We had him on air.
So,
we had him on the phone on AfterBuzz TV right here, UFC.
And could not get him jostled at all.
And Jay just tried to pick his brain and get him fired up, and he got a little fired up at you, I think. He came back at you and said, I'm not changing the way I am, or something like that. And
but I think he was calm about it, which only drove me that much more nuts.
Yeah, Jay really wanted to get the best out of him, but he stayed pretty calm.
But the thing is, when you see him in the ring, in the cage, excuse me, he is, again, calm, collected. He looks for his shots. He can be aggressive when he needs to, but you don't see him mad dogging. You don't see this outward aggression like you would from a Diaz brother, for example. You know, he's the antithesis of that, at least facially in his body movement. And you know, but unfortunately, he was getting manhandled on the ground. As much as we say about that armbar, Mousasi had his number. You could argue with 10-8
Mousasi had him in a rear naked choke attempt. He had him in an arm triangle. Yeah, he definitely had his number in the first round. And then the second round, Uriah Hall came out with that look in his eyes, which I would say is borderline animalistic, and he gave it to him. I said, those strikes, when Uriah Hall throws a strike, power is all I think.
Yeah.
He has such power behind everything he throws.
And that's the thing that everybody saw and was counting on in Ultimate Fighter.
In the Ultimate Fighter.
And coming off of that.
Absolutely.
Landed a great spinning back kick that just dropped to the face, I think.
Not even the back kick, but the knee that kind of he caught him.
That
with.
as well.
Flying knee.
I thought that was even worse.
So it was a spinning back kick, guys, that kind of doubled him over, Mousasi over, and then he followed it with an immediate flying knee right to the face, which, if that didn't end it, the brutal ground and pound that took place for another 10 Mississippi seconds really ended it.
Yeah.
And I was talking to somebody today that said they thought it was an early stoppage. I said, what fight were you watching?
Could have been a late
That
stoppage
could have been
based
a
on
late
some of the
stoppage.
refs.
And he's like, oh, didn't you see Mousasi going for the single leg?
It was an early stoppage if the match happens today.
Yeah.
But for yesterday, it was right on time.
That was not a single leg. That was a grab the leg for the life of me,
Right.
hold on to something so that I don't fall face first. Yeah.
Credit due as well to Mousasi, who didn't go black after those two first strikes. The fact that he is still in it with those rights to his face, whoosh. Yeah.
They would have put most people dead to sleep. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And it was a last minute opponent change. It was supposed to be
I don't remember. I feel like
Ron Jaco Canero.
Juan Canero.
Juan Canero.
But I feel it was like 3 or 4 weeks out.
Okay.
But certainly not too last minute, but also not something that I think either guy was necessarily planning for.
For a while. Yeah.
It's going to be fascinating to see, though, again, Uriah Hall. What Uriah Hall do we see going, to the end of the year, early next year?
How far up he's going to rise up in the rankings as well.
Yeah, very fair point.
Two of my favorite guys that so far this year are actually, I think they trained together, Uriah Hall and Kelvin Gastelum. Did you see Uriah Hall tweeted, he's like, "You're up next, bro," and he said Kelvin Gastelum and Malik Blake, and I thought it meant that he was like, I'm challenging you.
Oh, okay.
But that's of course not what he meant. He meant like, you're my teammate and you're fighting next.
Yeah, you're
totally misinterpreted that, but that was on a different podcast. But anyway, so two of my favorite fighters, though, they train together, Uriah Hall, Kelvin Gastelum, and Tyron Woodley, actually. They're like my three favorites right now because they're explosive, they have the knockout power, and they know how to finish people. And that's something that I look for. And if we see the Uriah Hall that we saw with the toe sticking out, the bone sticking out of his toe, and I'll just
so you want to see the bone again? Is what
I want to see the bone, the blood again. No, I'm just kidding. But if we see that fire in him, that we saw that fight, I mean, that guy, literally his toe was falling apart, and he was using it to kick still for the whole rest of the fight. That fight amazed me. And then this last one, amazing. Yeah. So if we see that Uriah Hall, I might have him as my Fighter of the Year contender. But we'll talk about that in a couple months.
Yeah, that's interesting. Mousasi is ranked number 6.
He is.
Can you imagine Uriah Hall jumping into the mix between number 7, Tim Kennedy, and number 5, Lyoto Machida?
Whoa.
Number 8, Michael Bisping. What do we think about Michael Bisping versus Uriah Hall?
I heard rumors of Bisping versus Anderson Silva.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's what Anderson Silva said.
Oh.
Michael Bisping versus Uriah Hall. That would be an interesting fight. Michael Bisping is a relentless guy that obviously has a slugger nut style, but at the same time, Uriah Hall's got that power. I don't know.
That's a fun one to make. We are... I'm looking at our... we're being told in the booth here that we got to take it home, but we've got 5 rounds of Josh Barnett and Roy Nelson to talk about. And let's start blow by blow here.
Okay, so in the first round of the first second of the first round of the first second.
I promise I'm kidding,
Just
Alexis.
kidding. Okay, so guys, this was a back and forth fight. It was a lot of clinching, a lot of dirty boxing, back and forth. Josh Barnett, in my opinion, controlling the pace for most of the fight. I scored probably all 5 rounds for Josh Barnett. He really was controlling the speed of the fight and did a great job of landing the important shots. I think he was scoring points in this fight, and I think it mattered to score points in this fight because it wasn't that obvious of a winner. So I think he was scoring points when he needed to, getting out of trouble when he needed to, but also super aggressive going forward. I think this is the best Josh Barnett we've seen in a while.
He came in leaner. He definitely was hungry and determined. I gave Nelson the first. I gave Nelson the first, and then Josh took the rest of them, pulled ahead. Now, a lot of people are saying that Roy was gassing out in like the second or third, and done in the deep water.
Right.
True. Although I'll say too that I feel like Roy Nelson didn't get enough credit for his cardio because he was nailing takedowns in the later rounds, and Josh as well. I think was, he won. He won decisively. There was no question. But at the same time, I feel like he was winded and gassed in the later rounds.
This was a fun fight to watch, though.
This was a slobber knocker.
I mean, Roy Nelson, I know we've seen him get knocked out before, but this guy's got a chin that I don't think many people can even fathom taking the damage, half the damage that he takes.
I was watching Josh Barnett hit him and stuff, and I'm like, what does Josh do from here? Like, he just has to keep doing the same thing and, like I said, score the points because he's not going to get the knockout. And that
he was nasty in the clinch and uppercuts and knees.
Great work in the clinch, but once again, I just didn't see the knockout coming, and that's not a flaw of Josh Barnett. That's a token of how great Roy Nelson's chin is.
Roy,
absolutely.
How long has he been coming out to Made in the USA? Is that just because he's
Roy?
Yeah.
I
feel like
a
came out
couple
to
years.
Fat by Wheelhouse.
No, that's right. Yeah.
Although he should come out to Wrecking Ball by Miley Cyrus.
That would be really fun.
I think that'd be awesome.
Roy's the kind of guy that would do something like that.
Exactly.
I think it's a horrible idea, but then again, it would probably happen.
Either way, it made for a great main event. Like we said, Josh Barnett has some fame over there in Japan, and so does Roy Nelson. And they're two of my favorite heavyweights, and I think you guys as well. We talked about this fight, and I think we predicted it to be a knockout for sure. But
shows you what we know.
Guys, we will be back soon, though. Wait, can we do some predictions?
We will be back in a week. You're not going to be here in a week.
Can we do AfterBuzz predictions?
No.
We're getting cut. That's the wrong button. Oh, we love you, Alexis.
Now,
Thanks.
Your AfterBuzz TV.
I think that Nick Diaz is going to get his suspension cut down to like 3 years or something.
Yeah.
That's
I agree
still
with that.
so dramatic.
I do like, without getting too much into it, I do like Ronda Rousey speaking out.
So let's just say real quick, Nick Diaz got suspended for 5 years, not 4, but 5, for testing positive for the third time, yeah. Three strikes you're out.
Yeah.
Third time for marijuana.
Yeah. It was... It's worth... Well, no, it's not worth going and watching it on Fight Pass, the State Athletic Commission hearings, because it was kind of a fiasco unto itself. But a lot of upheaval and kind of rebellion against that ruling. I think it was more less about the weed and more about Nick Diaz, who he is, and his relationship with the State Athletic Commission.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's a little harsh when people are doing steroids and getting suspended for a couple months or a year, and then somebody smokes marijuana and gets suspended for 5. What's marijuana going to help you in a fight? What's steroids going to help you in a fight?
Yeah, I was thinking
I just look at it like
wouldn't
that.
help you in a fight.
Exactly my point. And I look at danger versus
right. No,
non-danger. Steroids are dangerous because you can hurt somebody.
Right. That whole mentality comes from Keith Kaiser and when Nick tested positive the first time against Takanori Gomi. Maybe that was the second time.
And then you have people doing behavioral things that end up in the news, and they're still only suspended for a couple months. Like, I just think fair is fair, and you need to kind of be more consistent with your rulings. But that's just my opinion. But let's talk about predictions.
I think it's UFC 192? 192 next week?
I believe it's 92.
Cormier versus Gustafsson.
I believe it's Tyron Woodley versus Johnny Hendricks.
That's the co-main.
I thought the co-main was Ryan Bader, Rashad Evans.
No, that's the third fight on the card.
Stacked card then.
Yeah.
Because I think even Joseph Benavidez is like on the prelims.
Yeah.
Jody
main event
Diaz
prelims.
against Ali.
Those are all good fights. Even the main event I think can go either way.
All right,
I
let's do
like
lightning round.
Cormier, Evans, and Hendricks.
Good.
Shoot. I got Hendricks, Bader, and Cormier.
Tyrone Woodley, because I picked him as one of my fighters of the year.
Just because he's an ATT.
Ryan Bader versus who?
Rashad Evans.
Ooh. Rashad Evans. Guys, we will see you. Actually, I won't be here because I will be selling these Jersey Devil inspired t-shirts in Monroe, New Jersey at the Crown Plaza Hotel. Come see me October 3rd. Guys, where can we find you?
Well, you can't see me in Jersey October 3rd, but you can see me at your local Taco Bell, where I will be sporting this Daria Berenato Jersey Devil t-shirt, which you can buy for, what is it, $20?
You're not going to hang out at Burger King for the Black
I'm also
Murder
going to be
Burger?
there with George Hermoza at Taco Bell with that shirt.
I love it!
Which you can buy. Check out the Facebook page, Daria, Jersey Devil Berenato Facebook page, toughdaria@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Hermoza, GHERMOZA, hashtag the road to 400 followers.
Let's get him there. Jay, where can we find you?
As usual, JTAN716 all over. On November 22nd, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, you can find me at Club Nokia for the last of the year University of MMA Fight Night 12. Beyond that, I'll be back here on Wednesday for Ultimate Fighter. And also, happy anniversary to Carol and Mike. Mom, congratulations on dealing with Dad's farts for 45 years.
Oh, my Lanta. U of MMA is the place to be on November 22nd. I will be there as well as George if we are available, which of course we will be. Guys, we will see you next week. Have a good one.
You too.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz. Not yet. Buzz you later.
Buzz you later.
Buzz you later.
Buzz you later.
Do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.